Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Rise and Grind. I'm 72 the Architect, and I have a special guest interview with Hannah, a TikToker, an entrepreneur, content creator that I really admire and have come across some very influential things and aspects of what she's promoting in not just being a businesswoman, but being an entrepreneur, and as well as how things are affected in our everyday work life and how we're going to project ourselves in the upcoming days and in the future. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Hannah. Let's see, come on in. Hannah, good
Great.
morning. Welcome on in.
Good morning. Thank you.
So, thank you so much for taking this interview. I know we talked in the last couple of weeks, and I really had admired particular videos of yours that I really felt were like, wow, you just touched my attention in so many ways. And I think I have that video. So if you don't mind, I'm going to play that real quick just to show
Sure.
everybody. Let's see if I can share my screen. Here we go. TikTok in just a moment. And I'm going to play this video. Okay, share.
Okay. I am an employer and I'm about to say something to you that is not going to be popular, but the more I see it, the more I feel like I have to say something. Okay. Now, there is a huge cultural shift that's happening right now that definitely needs to happen, where corporations are being called out for taking advantage of their employees and overworking them, underpaying them and everything. I am 100% for it. But there's also another segment of what's going on, and it's called people that don't want to go to work for whatever reason. Okay. Now, a lot of people are starting their own businesses. Now, you know I'm for that. Or they're doing their side hustles, and their side hustles are now paying the bills. I am 1,000 times for that. But there's a segment of people who just are like, F the man, I'm not going back to work for whatever reason. Now, if you will notice in your everyday life, there is a lot more going automated. So whether it's the self-checkout stands, there's double those mothers now, okay? If you go any place, everything is automated, okay? Not everything is the corporate world. You see all of these help wanted signs in the smallest of businesses, all these mom and pop businesses. With the minimum wage going up this year, next year, the year after, and all of these benefits that are required now, especially like for people who are in California, it is cheaper to replace you with a robot. And then you take into consideration you don't want to come to work, and so we have to come up with a way to stay open so that we can stay in business. We are going to replace you with robots. We are going to replace you with out of the country workers, okay? So for those of you who are choosing not to work right now, you can do whatever you want, but know that your position is being replaced. So it is time for you to go look at getting some kind of a service job, engineering, electrician, plumber, anything. Come up with the trade. They are getting paid masses amount of money right now, as they should. Those are hard jobs. They should have always made that kind of money. But know that when you are ready to come back, your job has been replaced with a robot. So please do something else. Learn something else, because this is the way that the world is changing now.
And I hold on, let me stop it. There we go. I really like that for so many reasons. Being a businessman myself,
Mhm.
uh, you know, what really struck me is like you just have to observe all around you, anywhere from going to your local burger joint.
Right.
You're seeing touch screens, not
Yeah.
people. You're seeing things where people don't take cash anymore.
Right.
It's interface.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the people that get it, are looking at Web3, and they keep
Right.
talking about decentralizing banking. And
Right.
people are using access keys as like NFTs, which is non-fungible tokens. These are
Right.
pictures that are special keys just to unlock business or exclusive products.
Right.
And what I feel is that if people don't get on board by being creative and innovative like you are, I've watched a lot of your TikToks, and I do appreciate how you lay out certain aspects of business. So my first question would be, what what was your first job like, and how from that journey from then to where you are now as a business owner, how is that really, how is your vision of what work really is? How does that vision
Yeah.
like?
So my first job, I worked at a Fiesta restaurant. You might know that taco stand across from St.
I do.
Bonaventure.
I do know where it's at in Ventura,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Shout
I
out to
worked
all
there
the
when I
peeps in
was
Ventura.
14. Yeah, so I worked there when I was 14 years old, and, I made taquitos and corn burritos and, took people's orders. I mopped the floors, I cleaned the tables, I cleaned the bathrooms. I mean, I did everything. So that was my very first job at 14. I couldn't wait to be able to make money. So I always say that like kids should always have a job like that. Like my daughter worked at McDonald's first, and it's like you should always have a job like that because then you know what real work is and what real customer service is and just dealing with just learning about life and dealing with people. So that was my very first job.
And, like, for me, my very first job was mowing lawns
Yeah.
and throwing newspapers, and that was, like, God, like, I'm about to be 50, so I hate to age myself, but, um, for me, back in the '80s, that was
Mhm.
common practice,
Right.
and, like, kids, you started learning to hustle at about 10. If your parents weren't well off, guess
Yeah.
what? So and being especially Latino, being Mexican and Irish, I can tell you from both my cultures, work starts from the age when you start to walk.
Yeah.
You start to learn to cook, clean, take care of yourself. The philosophy is don't get in my way, so I have to do something to you. You know,
Yes,
don't ever
exactly. I'm
like
Mexican, Japanese, and Spanish, so I grew up the
oh,
same
nice, nice, nice.
way.
Yeah, so, I think these are very important aspects, and I what I notice about the youthful generation now is they don't take any initiative to want to be there. Like,
Mhm.
everyone keeps talking, "I'm not paid enough, I'm not doing enough," but when you're
Right.
looking at it, like, when you own a business, it's more critical because there's no guarantee that you're gonna get a client in the door. None.
Right.
And
Right.
when you stop getting clients or they stop calling and their
Mhm.
service doesn't finish, you are always being innovative and creative. So now warp speed it to today. How creative are you with your business now?
Oh, you have to be creative every day. So coming off that TikTok video and then talking about my business, right? This is what it is it's so funny because, the very first thing I said was, I'm all for holding corporate America accountable. It's like this is the new Me Too movement, right? Like holding corporate America accountable. But all anyone heard me say was, you're lazy, which is hilarious because I never said that at all. when
But
my
that's their trigger. That's not you.
that's their
That's
thing.
them not they're listening to clips, right?
Yeah, they're listening to clips, and if I looked at the analytics, they most of them stopped listening to the video the second I said robot. And my concern is that the world is changing so much. The world is so different. Yes, we were always going to go to automation, but COVID and the lack of people coming to work and going on to do different things,
Mhm.
all that is making automation happen all at once and much faster than it was ever going to. Okay. And then you have this generation of kids coming in who grew up with their heroes being Steve Jobs and Facebook and Google and Uber and all these people making tons of money and becoming millionaires and never going to college. Now, I went to college. I went to college late when I was 25. I am not for college in the historical way that we think of college. Unless you're going to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that, scientist, yes, college, yes. But if you're going to be marketing and business and all these kinds of things, you do not need to go to college. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Do nothing. So it's just a matter of listen, the world has changed and you have to change with it. So my concern is that all these people who are either trying to start a business or doing their things on their own or waiting it out or just mad at the man, are not adjusting to the world they're going to come back into. Okay. So they have to, if you think about everything going to automation, you cannot argue it. It is happening, right? Then you
Right.
better be something that supports automation or a service that cannot be automated, which is why I brought up electricians and plumbers and all that. You better not think that you're going to come back and do customer service. You're not going to come back and be data entry and as a receptionist and uh, a waitress. It's all getting automated. So those kinds of jobs and people who had those kinds of jobs before that are just waiting for something, I don't know what, they have to know they're going to be stuck in a bad place if they're not prepared, because while you were here, the world has moved.
It
So when
has.
you come back in, you got to go to where it is, where it went. That's my real concern. So when it comes to my business, I have a couple of different businesses. One is the Founders Factory, and the Founders Factory, I do consulting and I do speaking, and I help other businesses come into the United States and get set up. I've done that for years. I also have another business called Well Products. It's a skincare business. I sell to resorts and spas. And what's crazy to me is how my business is being affected by all this. So, for instance, a resort. I just went to go train a beautiful, gorgeous resort in Laguna Beach, and they do not have enough staff. So they don't have anyone to take care of the locker rooms. They don't have anyone to check you in at the front desk. They don't have anyone to sell. They don't have anyone to give massages. It's so crazy, right? And so that business is being affected. They're not now selling my products. And so now that is affecting me. Never mind that I have my own in office, like trying to keep staffing, trying to keep warehouse people, trying to keep fulfillment people. Those are the positions that people don't want to come back to. So it's very interesting. And it's not just entry level jobs. It's not just service jobs. It's the management. There's no management in these places, in the hotels and spas, which is very interesting to me too. Like, where are they? I don't know.
And
But
people want that accountability. They want that
yeah,
personal touch. I want a face, not a voice. I don't want a
right.
screen. I want a person, you know?
Right. But when you're forced into it, then it moves and you get used to it. Look at Amazon. We all buy from Amazon. There is no phone number for Amazon, but we all buy from it. So a lot of the comments, I had over 600 comments on that video were, oh, well, we just won't go to those places. Really? Are you not going to the grocery store ever again? You're not ever shopping at Amazon ever again? You're never going to a restaurant ever again? Like, of course you are, because you shop at Amazon every single day. And Amazon has no customer service number. And when you try to email somebody, they never answer. So you
Right.
will adjust accordingly. That's just what the world does.
I think that's very interesting for so many things. And this is why it's going to require people to be um, creative and, and innovative, because
Mhm.
when you look at what we've done before, I try to teach my kids manual things.
Yes.
I need you
No
to
one knows
think
how to fix a car, change oil
like
anymore.
I'm literally criticized for inspiring my kids to critically think. I'm like, I'm
Right,
raising you to be an adult. I'm
right.
hard on you because the world is much harder than you realize. And when no one wants to hire you because you have no work experience,
Mhm.
we all start from somewhere. But what
Right.
about the adults that have had to reinvent themselves? There's a lot of my Gen X,
Mhm.
people that are 40 plus, that they don't have pensions, they don't have retirements, their job is no longer required. I mean, just even what's changed in the trucking industry in California is
Right.
huge,
Yeah.
because they created a law where being an independent contractor ain't so easy.
Right.
And you can't drive like in LA, you are not allowed to drive your big wheeler through certain parts of LA. That's just it. And this
Wow.
is a common practice. And what it makes it so complicated is, like, how do you expect to move commerce and people? People, the way that we've operated is people to people, business to
Right.
business. But because the word monopoly is
Mhm.
now more present than ever,
Right.
and we can't ignore that. So because we are attached to the conveniences of our cell phone, our
Right.
tablet, we are attached. Have you ever gone a week without your cell phone?
No, I cannot go an hour.
Right. Now quantify that,
Mhm.
like, as young as 4 or 5
Oh,
years
no,
old.
I they know how to you see babies pick up a phone and start going like this. I
Mhm.
understand. I'm totally with you. And listen, I'm not against it. I just think that everything is, they have to still learn life skills,
They do.
and your children are successful. My child's successful because we were raised in a place where we woke up at Saturday morning and we pulled weeds. And we had to clean the house before we were allowed to go out and play, and there were certain standards set for us. And if our parents said no TV, then it was no TV, because for us it was TV,
Mhm.
and that's what I try to tell people too. There's always something that the next generation doesn't like about the new generation, and it's not Gen Z's fault. It's not the millennials' fault. Okay, it's nobody's fault. It's just that the world, it kind of reminds me of like I forgot what that time period's called, where everything, coal and steel and all that was all being
Well,
created the same
Victorian age or
I
uh,
can't remember, where
whatever it works,
Rockefeller and
but
Chase and all them like ran the
yeah.
world. And so that's what happened is technology grew so fast, so quickly. And so this generation, the Z Generation Z, one, I love them because they speak up and they are not worried about being politically correct. They're all about like, no, this is wrong, and we're gonna tell everyone that it's wrong. I love that. But you have to remember the world they know. They grew up with usually just one parent that worked all the time, and they were stuck on their own most of the time. And honestly, we used a phone and TV as a babysitter so that we can get things done. Like, it's our fault. Okay. But they grew up, like I said, with all of this instant gratification. Everything was online. When we went to school, we had a computer lab on Fridays, and we played that like wagon game.
Oh,
Remember that? Like the wagon. I can't remember what it was
what
called.
was it
Okay.
called? Oregon Trail. Oregon
Oregon
Trail.
Trail. Okay. And so,
I remember DOS. I remember it's like
yes,
command
I remember
function
Atari.
1,
Okay. Like,
and you're like,
yeah.
go to line 1 through 100, and you're just like,
Yes.
and you watch this whole
And we were modern. Yeah. Okay. So these kids, they have everything at their fingertips. They
Mhm.
don't need to, they just Google it. If they don't know what it is, they Google it, and they have access to everything. So of course they're coming up and growing up and showing up in this world with the mindset of why can't I have it? There is no limit to what they can do,
And
which
it's
is
causing
amazing.
it's causing social development problems for them, because think about it. How many people are single and don't know how to date? They don't know how to talk to each other,
Don't
let
have a
alone look.
license. How about they don't have a license and they're 20?
Yeah, that trips me out. So
Totally.
it
But what do they
there
need to go anywhere for? They
right,
have
and
the
there
screens.
so the thing is what we gotta realize is, like, how can we prepare our kids and ourselves
Mhm.
for what's coming? And to me, it's being curious, asking
Yes.
questions,
Mhm.
not, no is a complete sentence and so is yes. So, but we need to understand that when we are being creative, even like I said, I'm gonna be 50 in October.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I've lived my first 50 year this way, and the next 50 is gonna be even better.
Okay.
And I've started even now, and I don't think about. I
I know.
ask and I
So this
search out.
is one of my favorite things that you just said just now, okay? And this is a great lesson for those that are younger than us, because I'm 45.
Okay.
There's no hurry. There's no hurry. You're not late, right? And that's where this instant gratification problem persists, is that they all think that they're already supposed to be millionaires at the age of 24.
Mhm.
And it's like you just said, you're reinventing yourself. You started this podcast, you're doing all these things. I have reinvented myself 6, 7, 8 times over. I'm 45. I figure I will work until I'm 70 because I love working and I love creating, inventing, and starting new businesses. So I got 25 years.
Mhm.
Like, you talk to these kids. I was talking to one not too long ago, and he's 22, and I said, and he was just like, "I'm late. I feel like I'm late, and I missed the boat." And I went, "What boat? Where are we going? Where are we going? It's going to change in 2 years again." And so it's like, if I'm going to be 70, actually, it was my niece who I was telling this to. and she's a senior in high school, and she's worried, like, what if I make the wrong decisions, what classes to take in college? I'm like, so what? Just change. I didn't even start college till I was 25.
How many
You're coming
times
in
did
at
you change?
18.
Well, here's a big question. How many times did you change jobs or positions
Oh
from the
yeah.
age of 18 to where you're at now? I
Oh,
can say
tons.
I've changed at least 20 times, and that's including serving in the military.
Yeah, probably same.
Being in the Navy, I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, I have literally, but I can remember 7 years ago, I was a full-time waiter and I was going to school.
Hmm. Yeah.
And people used to criticize me all the time, like, "Hey, why don't you why are where are you at, Mr. Big Shot? You're so smart." And I'm like, you know what? I may not start out like the leading pony, but I'll be one to finish the race.
Yeah.
And so I really don't allow people to code me. I don't allow people to shame me and wherever my achievements, because I'm like, if you're willing to criticize my achievements, then I'm going to take a careful microscope and look at yours, and you might not be happy with the results. And
Well,
it's
here's
not and
okay.
so hold on. But the thing is where my new leaf on life is I let go of expectations and
Mm,
I lead with curiosity. And my new philosophy now is I greet you in hospitality, I meet you in hospitality, and I'm going to leave you that way. And if you got a problem with that, that's on you. I'm still going to keep focusing on being curious, and it keeps you youthful.
yeah.
When you just accept things for the way that they are and that's it, and you're no going nowhere, guess what? Just write your gravestone and write your epitaph. There you
Mhm.
go. Just leave it there and it's waiting for you to receive you. And me,
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm gonna rock it today like I have no other. And that's it.
Right. And the thing is the path, the code, as you called it, and everything is different for everyone. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, what is success to you? Is success not worrying about paying your bills? Is success having lots of extra time with your family? Is success having the best car and the biggest house? What is success? You know, I mean, of course, when I was younger, wanted all the things, all the material things. And then as you get older, you're like, no, I actually just want to travel and not like, to me, being rich is do being able to have enough money to do all the things I want to do, which is always start a new business and travel whenever I want. So if my girlfriend calls and says, "Hey, we're going to Miami, in 2 weeks, you want to come with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming to Miami. Let's go." That to me is being rich. You know what I mean? And it's not about having anything.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, how much do you enjoy on traveling? And here's another big question. This is actually the second question. Who are your role models that helped you get along? Where did you learn this? Your spirit, your attitude, as you've developed, who've been the most influential people that have made this ensemble of who Hannah is as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, as a content creator, who have greatly influenced you on your journey. That would also be very important to know, because I
Yeah.
think that where we're grown and taught
Yeah.
is a big impact.
So I was raised very religious in a religious household. My dad was a minister. And so I was taught very young to show up on time and show good face. You know what I mean? I always had to put on a good face because the congregation was watching. So good or bad, I just learned that that was important, and I also learned very quickly that how I showed up is how people would treat me. Right. So as far as that goes, that's kind of how what I learned growing up in a church. My parents were middle class. I did not know that we weren't poor by any means, but we were not rich. We were like probably lower middle class. And my dad gave my mom a decision when they got married. We can either buy a house or have kids. We cannot do both. We cannot afford it. And so she chose kids. And so I have one sister, and we grew up on the beach. And every single weekend, we would go to the beach at 6 a.m. and leave when it got dark because my dad was a surfer. So we had the time of our lives.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
we
So
never left.
he's familiar with County Line then?
Yeah, of course, of
Okay, there
course.
we go. Shout out to Ventura Surf
So
Lines.
shout out to
Appreciate it.
Ventura Surfers.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was how I grew up, again, and in the church. My parents are very positive people, and they were always helping others. So I saw that that was part of life, is you're supposed to help others. So I don't know how not to. Okay, in my own ways. Then my grandfather, I used to earn money by working in his yard, and he had this crazy yard, and he would pay me by the hour. And if I said I was going to come work, because I had to earn my money to do anything I wanted that was out of the ordinary. Like, so if I wanted a toy or something like that, then I had to go earn my own money. And so we would wash cars, and we would our neighbors' cars, and we would go to my grandpa's house and work in the yard. And he'd say, Mija, how many hours are you giving me today? He'd like ask me, right? I said, 4 hours. And he goes, okay, let's go. This is what you're going to do. Da, da, da. And I remember one day it was so hot. And my grandma kept telling him to let me come in because it was so hot. And so about 3 hours. I called him Boomba. I said, Boomba, it's really hot today. So I'm going to go ahead and finish now. Okay. And he goes, no, you're not. You told me 4 hours. You committed to me for 4 hours. You get down there and pull those weeds. We're working 4 hours. That's what you told me. So I learned
Ooh,
very quickly work ethic and what my, and I think I was 7 when this happened.
keep your
And
word. Yeah,
yeah, and
that's a
so,
big
and I
one.
learned very quickly, my word is my bond, like, don't say it out loud then, So those were some things. As far as my attitude goes and my attitude of persistence, I think that was just the work ethic that was instilled in me by my parents and my grandfather. And then, again, because I have a positive attitude and because I'm curious, just like you were saying, you're curious. I love learning new things. I love talking to people and just understanding where they're coming from. And
Mhm.
so people love to be teachers,
They
and they
do.
love to take someone who appreciates the knowledge they're giving, who absorbs and uses the knowledge they're giving, and who has good work ethic. And so if you're that person, they will adopt you. And I've been lucky enough to have mentors and people who have adopted me and taught me things throughout my entire life because I appreciated it and because I would do it and I would put it into into life and just do the things they taught me. So that's really, like, I was very lucky, but it wasn't just luck. It was appreciation and hard work. People appreciate that about people and will help them and hold their hand and help guide them going up.
I think luck is a part of life, but I think it's just kinda like the spark, the match, and from that match, it really depends on how you're prepared for each day, how you're
Mhm,
prepared in your mindset, and how you talk to yourself. Like so many others, I put so much pressure on myself and unrealistic expectations, unrealistic stress. And it's just like, I want the house, I want the money, I want
mhm,
all these things. And it was up until this year that I really realized I was really humbled enough to think, how am I really being of service by stressing out and stressing out the ones I love, not spending
mhm.
adequate time, not enjoying? Like, if you ask a lot of guys, do you know how to enjoy yourself?
Yeah,
And they'll kind of give you a cover answer, but no,
yeah.
what do you
Watching
really?
football.
Yeah, for me, it's like I miss my days of travel. I
Yeah,
miss traveling internationally. I do. I miss, but see, this is the one good thing that me and my lady we share is we'll go to the coast. Just 2 weeks ago, we were at Big Sur and we were at
yeah,
Pfeiffer Beach, and people are like, "Where the hell? What's Big Sur? What's that? Look it up."
yeah.
And like going to Half Moon Bay and going on trails, treks, things that you can do regionally, but adding that real life manual experience to enjoy
Mhm.
just one day, one time. And it also applies to your work.
Yeah.
Like, I never create on my work schedule, and I have a big work, like, I have a lot of time slots. I have so many emails I've got to answer. I've got so many calls, and then I've got to deal with I've got to deal with counsel. I've got to deal with so many different people,
Yeah.
aspects of what I do for a living. And the one thing that I remember is this is why I start at 4 o'clock in the morning. I reserve the first 3 hours of the day for me.
Mhm.
No matter what, it's non-negotiable. Like, my podcasting is something I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Um, meditation time, walking my dog, seeing
Mhm.
the sunrise come over the Sierras. That's these are they're so invaluable. And then time with my kids.
Yeah.
I used to be such a micromanage, hard helicopter dad, and then when I started realizing getting real work, I was like, "What do I really celebrate in my present or
Right.
my presence?" You know, isn't present spelled the same way like what on Christmas as time?
Yes,
Isn't that interesting?
absolutely.
And so when you realize and you open yourself up in being humble, and I used to a guy, you tell us to be humble, it's a cover word to saying, "Shut up, weakling. Don't be a weenie." And for us, we bury this monster on our back that we have to be the ultimate warrior champion through intelligence, through
Mhm,
your work,
mhm.
and the last thing that's on your list or on the list is love and
Right,
personal relations. And if you switch that around and you learn how to relate to people and you learn how to
right,
talk to people, you're reachable. And then people want to
right.
do in business. And so that would be my next question
Mhm.
is how much of what you do is related to that personal touch in being an entrepreneur?
Everything, everything. So I have a complete open door policy, not only with my employees, but my clients and with anybody who has any question at all. I put myself out there in my website's Hannah Murray Duncan, my Instagram, my Facebook, my TikTok. Everybody asks me questions all the time, and I find that it's the most important thing. I rarely now, because I've learned the power of face to face and conversations, so I rarely now have phone calls. I almost always only have Zoom calls or something like that, or FaceTime calls, because people need that personal connection. And I would say that I'm so successful because people know that they know exactly what they're gonna get from me. They
Hmm.
know that if I mess up, I'm gonna say, "Oh my god, I screwed up." You know? I'm not trying to cover up anything, and because of that personal touch of, if somebody in my company screws up, I get on the phone and apologize for it being my fault, because in the end, it's my fault. I'm the leader here, you know? And so because of that personal touch, people know they can come to me for anything. They know they can let me know when they don't like something. I've made a few phone calls in the last month or so of people who've kind of disappeared, and I realized later it's because of the lack of employees. But I've called them and said, "Hey, did I do something wrong? Like, did I mess up? Do I not know that I messed up?" Like, this is my question to them, not like, "Where have you been? Why are you not buying so much?" I really think like maybe something happened and I just don't know. So it's very, very important. That's a trust and a partnership with your clients, with your consumers. They need to be able to rely on you, because as we started off this podcast, a lot of things are going to automation. So if you want to stand out, then they need to know that they have a personal line to you, you know?
It's true. I mean, I'm not scared of robots or AI. I'm really not
No.
because my mindset is literally on 5 steps ahead
Mhm.
while working everything I'm working on today means that it's going to be an ingredient and for a picture in my mind, how would I like to live my life as the future unfolds to presence?
Yes.
I don't I rarely ever look at back at the past. I only look at the past as a reference, like this is my growth.
Mhm.
I don't believe in mistakes. I just believe in choices that didn't work. I,
Yeah, that's like,
because your
seen
stake
any
on
of my
life,
videos,
yeah.
I'll tell you all the time, I make videos telling you what mistake I made that day,
Mhm.
because it just is what it is, and if you're hard on yourself about making mistakes, you cripple yourself because
Right.
you're so worried
You get
about
that
making mistakes.
paralysis with analysis
Yes.
in your daily life. And as an entrepreneur, would you say that paralysis with analysis could be your biggest enemy?
Oh, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. In fact, I'll tell you, when with my employees, and this has been going on for 20 something years since I've been an employer. What freaks me out, the only thing that freaks me out is when they freak themselves out because they're worried about making a mistake. Because 90% of the time, they will make a mistake. So I always tell them, like, "Why are you worried? Do I get mad? Do I tell you when I make mistakes? Like, don't worry about getting making mistakes, because you will make a mistake. Just stop."
I think it comes from the parental model, and you also from our generation, yelling in the job place or being demeaning used to
Yeah.
exist on a rampant,
Yeah.
and And I used to hear my mom back in the day come home, my mom's a mother of 3 kids, being berated by men,
Yeah,
in
we still
leadership,
are.
and
We
and
still are.
now and now that environment has greatly changed. I mean, my mom's
Mhm.
in retirement, and she
Yeah,
still
but it's
battles with
it's now
that
like
that
passive. It's passive how it happens. So
Yeah,
they
they it's like the sleight of hand, but to me, like, this is why what I mean by coding. I
Mhm,
don't talk about my religion, I don't talk about my politics. I leave out my interpretation of how to live someone else's life. I
mhm,
look at exactly what I'm living with in the example, and I tell you, like, look, if you feel like you need to code yourself and saying, "Well, I'm a she, her, or pronouns," fine, go ahead and do that. I'm talking to you as a person. If you
mhm,
need me to look at your culture, unless that culture plays into deal with our conversation,
mhm,
then it's not as important to me because I see you and I see all colors, I see all languages, I hear it all. But my thing is process. You
mm.
can either be effective or you can be efficient. And sometimes you're both. But you really got to think about how you relate to people, how you're relatable is your effectiveness in your communication.
Mhm,
And I think that, like I said, bring it back to your TikTok, what you've been able to communicate in different aspects and showing, you know, I've shown other people, I've shared your stuff.
thank
Uh,
you.
and when I believe in somebody, when I resonate, I've struggled myself and I'm
Mhm,
still navigating my waters. I share with people things that matter, and I
right.
talk about things that matter. I don't wanna talk about, like, why men aren't always having their needs met, or why women can't connect, or why can't we listen to each other. I talk about deeper things and, like, "Look, what have you evaluated yourself today? Have
Mm,
you thought giving yourself an applaud just for getting up? Have you given yourself grace to say, you know what? I am great. I can
yeah,
do this. I approach every day with a can do, even when I feel like crap and I'm like, I just got beaten up the previous week before, have no energy. I look
right.
at this, I got a 4-year-old, I got a 14-year-old, I got a 26-year-old, and these are my people I'm leading in legacy. And I'm
Mhm,
leading them by, like, yeah, my dad, he can screw up, but he has grit and he will come back every time. He will
right.
persist, he will not stop. And but yet still enjoy those moments. And I think that that's something that's very, very important. So, getting closer to the close of this, so now that you're a full-time entrepreneur, what does that word mean to you?
You know, entrepreneurs, so, everyone's an entrepreneur these days,
I'm
so
not, I'm just a business guy. I'm a
yeah,
businessman. I'm not gonna call myself that yet. I'm not there.
I don't really even think about it. I mean, when someone says, "What do you do?" I mean, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I can't help but start new companies all the time. So, for me, it's all, it never matters to me how much money I make. It all works out because I love it. So when you love something, it works out, right? To me, I love the build. Once I have to start dealing with daily minutia of running a company, I'm out. I want out. I just love to build something. I love to take an idea and see if I can make it happen. And I would say 80% of my ideas work out because I work at it, and I just love it. So for me, it's the game, it's the build of something new, and it's fun to see what happens. I've had so many employees get married, have babies, start their own companies, everything else because of things that I started. So that to me is like this is so cool. Like I built this, and all these things happen because of it. So that's just me. That's just I love that so much.
I like that a lot. And what I would say, you're probably, when people watch this, you are kind of a little bit. I'll just give you the props, a little bit of an inspiration to win, because
Thank
this
you.
last week, I believe Thursday was International Small Businesswoman's Day. I think it was
Was
Thursday.
it? I don't even
Yeah, and I learned about this from another female entrepreneur. I was in a clubhouse room, and we were. It's completely open to Latinos on Clubhouse,
Mhm.
and they talk about networking and business and all these great things. And it's Hispanic Heritage Month, and we kind of talked about how intimidating starting a business it can be,
Mhm.
because you don't know. And it's like so many of us are used to being employees, but when you're willing to step away
Yeah.
from being, and you think that you have security, but you really don't in any
No,
employment.
it's the
You're
most
you're you're
insecure
what
thing.
yeah, you're what they call an at-will employee. That means you can be
Mhm.
terminated for any reason. And especially in the California, they don't have to give you a reason. Just say
Right,
you're done.
right.
But when you're a contracted employee, that's a different story because you're hired for an expertise, you're hired for a certain period of time. And
Right.
once that duty's fulfilled, great. So it's just
Yeah.
like being
There's more
a
control there
yeah.
of your life. Yeah.
So training to get out of becoming an employee is really scary. And for especially as I've talked to a lot of different businesswomen and men, you
Mhm.
tell them to go start their own business and they'll look at you like, really?
Yeah.
It sounds good. I don't know. What about my benefits?
Well,
What about
some people aren't built like that. That's okay. That's okay. Like, not everybody can be the leader or
right?
the entrepreneur, you know?
And this is what I tell people. Your self-beliefs are well trained in your experience. So what happens when you defy it and you change that message? And you may not be a business leader. You can be
Mhm,
entrepreneurial, which is working for a company and still being a leader and still being creative. You may not be the head shot caller, but what
mhm.
you are is a human being of value. And this is
Yeah,
where I predicate business on your personal value. Like when
yeah,
I talk to you and I sent you a message, I'm like, hey, I love your stuff. And here's why I would love to interview you. And I mean it wholeheartedly and sincerely because to me, I'm making differences.
yeah,
It's like dropping a pebble in the middle of whatever, and it's going to create waves. This creates curiosity. This creates discussions and not idle conversations.
right.
I don't care about the Kardashians. I don't care about what's going on in the Desperate Housewives. I don't care what's going on in Big Brother. I don't care with whatever reality show that's trying to peddle false reality because too much reality is a bad thing. But what about
Mhm,
imagination? And if we
mhm,
can't get away from imagination, we have to enjoy that whole experience. Like try to look at life right now as a
mhm.
4-year-old. Zip it and act like you know nothing and watch the world and see how it transforms,
Right.
you know? So, yeah. Anyhow, this is coming up to the top of the hour, and I definitely appreciate you, Hannah. And I just want to say thank you for coming. I would love to have you as a guest speaker in the future if you're open for that and permitting on your
Absolutely.
schedule. And I would love to talk more about developing business, especially from a multicultural perspective. I really appreciate that you are Mexicana, and I also pretty appreciate that you're Japanese.
Yes.
Ohayo gozaimasu,
Ohayou gozaimasu.
yeah, so I do speak some Japanese. It's been a while,
Okay.
but but the thing is like because so many of us are blended, we don't have to feel like we identify just to one thing or one area. We can branch out and be who we are.
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Hannah, stick around just for a second. I'm gonna do the outro and then and I'll talk to you privately in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you all for those who are listening to me live on Wisdom, live on YouTube. So you'll be able to see this, or see it on my YouTube. Just find me 72 the Architect or 72 or Rise and Grind with 72 the Architect. I'll identify it. You'll be able to see it and see recording. I would love for more subscriptions. I would love to see you. And Hannah is a great person to follow on TikTok. And do you want to share that on here, like how they
Yeah,
can find you?
absolutely. It's Hannah Murray Duncan on TikTok. Hannah Murray Duncan. I also have a website, hannahmurrayduncan.com, and you can find me on Instagram.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody. So we'll see you all next time on Rise and Grind.